So for my pastiche of Wayne Thiebaud's work, I'm doing his piece called Free Donuts. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the image and I can see where everything's placed almost perfectly in a line on the center of the page. So I'm just going to draw a box on my sheet that shows where they would be placed. This helps me work out the size, so I'm not drawing too small or too big. So they all need to fit in this box here. So they all fit in there. So that uses the same amount of space as Thiebaud's work does. Once I've got that, I now want to work out roughly where each individual donut is placed on here. So my first one, it's a bit lower than here. The middle one is the top. But then this one on the left, the one I'm drawing first, is the lowest. So I'm going to have that roughly fitting into that box. Then I've got my next donut, which goes all the way to the top of the line, fitting into that box. And finally, this one here, the third one, sits on the same bottom line as that, but obviously goes a bit lower than this one. So it will sit just along here. Oh no, along here, it doesn't go all the way to the bottom one. And then I can just rub out my mistake I made there. Okay, so that's roughly where I'm going to place each of my donuts. So this helps me work on the composition. This looks about right, it's a good size. The next thing I need to do is now work on my shapes and get those big major shapes sorted. So this isn't getting any detailing yet. This is just focusing on getting the correct sort of shape. So I've got a circle placed here, which comes out, flattens along the bottom like that. I've then got this circle, touches the top of the box here, goes around, it's a bit flatter, so like that. Then a line that comes off here into that. And then finally, this one might need to be a little bit smaller. Maybe I did go too long with that box. And that's the rough shapes. If I want to, I can add in the center of the donuts. Now from the rough shapes, I'm going to start adding the details. So I'm going to look where the shapes deviate a little bit. For example, this isn't a perfect circle. This bit here, there's this bit of a ridge. Okay, I'm going to try and capture that detail now. Now that I've got the first donut sketched out, I might need to change some of the bits of my other ones. So I'm going to use this as my point of origin and everything else is going to be relevant to this. So then if I need to change these, it's absolutely fine. This is my kind of starting point. So I can see it crosses over here just under this bump here, which for me isn't as obvious, but it's about here. So that looks about right. Dips in slightly, goes around there, lower there, and again nice and rounded along here. Then the bottom of it crosses over on this line here, near the top, about a third of the way from the top. So this line here, so about here. Then I want to start looking at my details. So I might rub out some of my guidelines so I can see my drawing a bit clearer. But then I'm rubbing out all those bits I don't need, adding in my details, and then I will be ready for the next step. So here I'm mainly marking in where the shadows are, as obviously being a donut there isn't a ridiculous amount of fine detail we can point out. A lot of the detail kind of comes with the shading that we will get to when we get to colour. What I don't want you to do is shade this in with pencil, and you'll see why when we get to colour.